At 2:59 p.m., I was running the pitch that could change our future. At 3, I was stabbed in the back, in front of the 3 people I'd been fighting for. The conference room's air turned arctic as my CEO cut through my final slide. Effective immediately, he announced to our biggest investors, "We're letting her go. The company needs fresh leadership for this vision." My vision, my $15 million idea. And he just claimed it as his own while throwing me out like yesterday's trash. My name is Emily Carter. And until 5 minutes ago, I was the Vice President of Strategic Development at Vanguard Horizon, a medical tech startup in Dallas that was about to change everything. 38 years old, divorced, no kids. I'd poured every ounce of myself into this company for the past 4 years. Today was supposed to be the culmination of all that sacrifice. The conference room on the 42nd floor gleamed with false promises. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Dallas skyline, while 3 of Texas's most influential venture capitalists sat across from us at the polished mahogany table. Margaret Chen from Apex Ventures, David Rothschild from Pioneer Capital, and Samantha Torres from Blue Sky Innovations, collectively controlling over $800 million in healthcare investments. I'd spent 6 months courting them for our Series B funding. 6 months of perfecting every slide, every projection, every goddamn comma in our pitch deck. The centerpiece was Pulse Sync, my brainchild. A revolutionary data synchronization platform that could seamlessly integrate patient records across any healthcare system. Hospitals were desperate for it. Insurance companies were salivating. We'd already secured letters of intent worth $15 million. As you can see, I concluded, clicking to my final slide, Pulse Sync represents not just an incremental improvement, but a paradigm shift in healthcare data management. With your investment, we'll be first to market within... Thank you, Emily. Mark Holland's voice sliced through my words like a scalpel through skin. Our CEO, my supposed partner in this venture, stood up from his chair beside me. His Tom Ford suit caught the afternoon light as he moved to the center of the room. "Before we continue," Mark said, his boyish face arranged in an expression of practiced regret, "I need to address an organizational change." My stomach dropped. The investors shifted in their seats, confusion flickering across their faces. "Effective immediately," Mark continued, his eyes never meeting mine. "Emily Carter's position has been eliminated. We've determined that her role doesn't align with Vanguard Horizon's aggressive growth strategy moving forward." The words hit me like ice water. I felt my face flush, then drain of all color. Margaret Chen's eyebrows shot up. David Rothschild's pen stopped moving across his notepad. "I'm sorry." "What?" Samantha Torres leaned forward, her voice sharp. "You're firing your VP of Strategic Development in the middle of a funding pitch?" Mark's smile never wavered. "I understand the timing seems unusual, but I assure you, this decision is in the company's best interest. The Pulse Sync platform, Vanguard Horizon's intellectual property, will continue to be developed under new leadership that better understands our vision for scale. Our vision, our intellectual property, the possessive pronouns stabbed deeper than any blade. I found my voice, though it came out steadier than I felt. The Pulse Sync concept was developed by Vanguard Horizon, Mark interrupted smoothly. As I'm sure our legal team can confirm, all work product created during employment belongs to the company. The investors exchanged glances. This wasn't just unprofessional, it was a red flag wrapped in a crimson banner. But Mark pressed on, sliding seamlessly into my presentation, using my slides, my research, my words. I sat there for another agonizing minute, watching him butcher the nuances of the technology I'd spent 18 months developing. Then I stood. "Gentlemen, Ms. Torres," I said, gathering my laptop with trembling hands that I willed to steady. "I apologize for this disruption to your afternoon." Mark paused mid-sentence, finally looking at me. Something flickered in his eyes. Triumph. Maybe, or relief that I wasn't making a scene. I leaned down, placing both hands on the table, and looked him directly in the eye. My voice was quiet, but it carried across the silent room. You'll regret this sooner than you think. Then I straightened, smoothed my dress, and walked out of that conference room with my spine straight and my head high. Behind me, I heard Mark's nervous laugh and his attempt to restart the presentation. The elevator doors closed on my 4 years at Vanguard Horizon. As I descended, one thought crystallized in my mind. Mark Holland had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He just didn't know it yet. The moment those elevator doors opened to the marble lobby, I felt it. The crushing weight of public humiliation. The security guard, Thomas, who'd greeted me every morning for 4 years, couldn't meet my eyes. Word travels fast in a 42-story building. By now, half the company probably knew I'd been executed in front of our biggest investors. My heels clicked against the floor, each step echoing like a countdown. Other employees from Vanguard Horizon were returning from lunch, their conversations dying as they saw me. Sarah from accounting actually stepped backward. Jim from engineering pretended to check his phone. I was already a ghost. Your badge, Ms. Carter. Thomas's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry, but... I unclipped it from my blazer. The plastic card that had defined my identity for 1,460 days. Emily Carter, VP Strategic Development. My photo smiled back at me, taken on my first day, full of hope and ambition. I handed it over without a word. The Texas sun hit me like a slap as I exited the building. January in Dallas was supposed to be mild, but the heat felt oppressive, suffocating. Or maybe that was just the rage building in my chest. Mark's words echoed in my skull. Vanguard Horizon's intellectual property. The bastard. The calculating, conniving bastard. He'd planned this. The timing wasn't coincidental, it was surgical. Fire me in front of the investors to establish dominance, to make it crystal clear that Pulse Sync belonged to him, not the woman who'd birthed it from nothing. He knew I couldn't fight back in that room without looking desperate, pathetic. He'd counted on my professionalism, weaponized it against me. But Mark had forgotten one crucial detail about our working relationship. In his arrogance, he'd overlooked the most important lesson I'd learned in 15 years of corporate warfare. Always keep receipts. 6 months ago, I'd sent him a detailed memo outlining the Pulse Sync concept. Every algorithm, every integration protocol, every single innovation that would make our platform revolutionary. I'd written it on my personal laptop, on a Sunday, from my home office. The timestamp would prove it was created outside of company hours, using my own resources. More importantly, that memo had been titled Personal Project Proposal, Confidential. I'd been planning to negotiate for a stake in the IP, maybe even a co-founder credit. Mark had responded enthusiastically, said we'd work out the details later. But later never came. Instead, he'd slowly shifted the narrative in board meetings, started using we instead of Emily, then I instead of we. I'd watched it happen, told myself I was being paranoid. After all, we were building something together, right? We were partners. I'd trusted him. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa, my assistant, former assistant. OMG, Emily, what happened? Mark just announced you're gone. This is insane. Then another, from Derek in development. The whole engineering team is in shock. Pulse Sync is your baby. This is bullshit. And another, and another. My phone lit up with messages of support, confusion, outrage, but I couldn't respond. Not yet. I had something more important to do. I spotted a Starbucks across the street and made my way over, my mind already calculating. It was 3:07 p.m. The investors were probably still in that conference room, watching Mark fumble through technical specifications he only half understood. He'd need at least another hour to finish the pitch, then another hour for questions he couldn't properly answer without me. That gave me a window. A narrow one, but maybe enough. I ordered a black coffee, I'd need the caffeine, and claimed a corner table. My laptop booted up, and I pulled up the USPTO website. The search bar stared back at me. Waiting. Pulse Sync, I typed. No results. No trademark filing, no patent applications, nothing. My heart began to race. In all his scheming, Mark had made one critical error. He'd been so confident in his theft, so certain I'd simply slink away in defeat, that he'd forgotten to protect what he was stealing. Amateur mistake. Fatal mistake. I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to a name I'd hoped I'd never need. Rebecca Martinez, intellectual property attorney. Austin. We'd met at a conference 2 years ago. She'd handed me her card with a wink and said, "For when you realize your company doesn't deserve you." Prophetic. My fingers hovered over Rebecca's number. 3:10 p.m. Every second counted now. Rebecca Martinez. Rebecca, it's Emily Carter from Vanguard Horizon. I need... Emily, I need to file a trademark, right now, this minute. A pause? I could practically hear her switching into lawyer mode. Okay, tell me what's happening. I've just been terminated. They're claiming ownership of my IP. But I've checked. There's no filing. Nothing. I have documentation proving the concept originated with me, personally, outside of company resources. How long ago were you terminated? I glanced at my phone. 10 minutes. Jesus. Okay, I'm pulling up the expedited filing system now. What's the mark? Pulse sync. One word. Capital P, capital S. Classification? Medical software, data integration platform. Class 9 for the software. Class 42 for the SaaS component. I heard rapid typing. Good, you know your classifications. That'll save time. I need you to email me everything, and I mean everything. The original concept documents, any communications about it, timestamps, all of it. My hands flew across the keyboard. I'd been meticulous about backing up my work to my personal cloud storage, another habit Mark had mocked as paranoid. I found the original memo, date stamped 6 months ago, 11:47 p.m. on a Sunday. Perfect. Then the follow-up emails, sent from my personal Gmail to Mark's personal email, discussing the concept as my side project. Sending now, I said, attaching file after file, design specifications, market research, competitive analysis, all created on my own time, watermarked with my personal email address. Got it, Emily. This is solid. You documented everything. Rebecca's voice held a note of admiration. Most people don't think to protect themselves like this. I learned the hard way at my last job. Never again. Smart. Okay, I'm drafting the application now. The expedited electronic filing will cost about $2,500 with my emergency fees. Is that? Do it. More typing. My coffee sat untouched, growing cold. Around me, the Starbucks hummed with normal afternoon activity, people chatting, laughing, living their unshattered lives. Through the window, I could see the Vanguard Horizon building looming against the sky. Somewhere up there. Mark was probably botching the technical questions, sweating through his designer suit. Emily, I need you to understand something, Rebecca said. First to file is powerful. But if they can prove the concept was developed within the scope of your employment, they can't. I was hired as VP of Strategic Development. My contract specifically outlined my duties: business development, partnership strategies, market expansion, nothing about product development, nothing about technical innovation. I've reviewed it 100 times. You beautiful, paranoid genius. Okay, filing now. The system's being slow. There we go. It's processing. 3:18 p.m. My heart hammered against my ribs. Come on, Rebecca muttered. I could hear her fingers drumming against her desk. Then, yes. Okay, application submitted. The serial number is... Ready? I grabbed a napkin, pen poised. She rattled off the number. I wrote it down, then photographed it, then emailed the photo to myself. Paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia had just saved my life. Email confirmation coming through. Now, Rebecca announced. 3:20 p.m. Congratulations, Emily. You've just filed for exclusive trademark rights to Pulse Sync. The application is date and time stamped. Even if they file tomorrow, you've got priority. I slumped back in my chair, adrenaline suddenly draining from my system. Rebecca, I could kiss you. Save it for when we win. Because Emily, they're going to fight this. Hard. Let them, I said. And for the first time since walking out of that conference room, I smiled. They want a war? They've got one. That's my girl. I'm preparing a cease and desist letter now. The moment they use the PulseSync name in any capacity, marketing, development, investor communications, we'll slam them with it. They'll have to rebrand everything or negotiate with you. The implications hit me like a tidal wave. Every presentation, every document, every line of code labeled with PulseSync would have to be changed. The letters of intent from potential clients, worthless without the brand they'd been sold on. By 3:20, I whispered. I had just made their $15 million idea mine. The napkin with the serial number trembled in my hand. Evidence. Proof. Ammunition. Rebecca, how fast can you get that cease and desist ready? I'm already drafting. Give me 20 minutes for something basic, an hour for something that'll make them weep. What's your timeline? I glanced at my phone. 3:22 p.m. Mark would be wrapping up the pitch soon, probably promising the investors a smooth transition, assuring them that PulseSync's development wouldn't skip a beat without me. Send the basic version as soon as it's ready. Email it to Mark Holland, the entire board of directors, and... I paused, savoring the next words. Margaret Chen at Apex Ventures, David Rothschild at Pioneer Capital, and Samantha Torres at Blue Sky Innovations. The investors who were in the room? The very same. Ballsy. I like it. You want to poison the well before they sign anything. I want them to know exactly what kind of leadership they're investing in. A CEO who fires key personnel without securing IP rights isn't someone you trust with $15 million. Rebecca laughed, sharp and appreciative. Remind me never to piss you off. Okay, basic letter incoming. I'll have the comprehensive version ready within the hour, along with documentation of your prior claim to the IP. We hung up, and I finally took a sip of my cold coffee. It tasted like victory. My phone buzzed. Mark. What the hell did you do? I didn't respond. Let him sweat. Another text. Emily. We need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. Then, you're making a huge mistake. Call me. Now. 3:41 p.m. Rebecca's email landed in my inbox. Subject line, cease and desist. Unauthorized use of PulseSync, TM, trademark. I forwarded it immediately to my entire contact list at Vanguard Horizon, then opened a new email to the 3 investors. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Dear Ms. Chen, Mr. Rothschild, and Ms. Torres. I apologize for the unprofessional scene you witnessed earlier today. I wanted to inform you that as of 3:20 p.m., I have filed for exclusive trademark rights to PulseSync TM, the healthcare data integration platform I personally developed and presented to you today. Any use of this trademark by Vanguard Horizon or its representatives without my express written permission constitutes infringement. I've attached the relevant cease and desist order for your review. I remain committed to bringing PulseSync TM to market and would welcome the opportunity to discuss investment opportunities under more appropriate circumstances. Respectfully. Emily Carter, creator and trademark owner. PulseSync TM. Send. My phone exploded. Calls from Mark, from board members, from colleagues. I declined them all, watching the missed call count climb. 5, 10, 15, 4:30 p.m. Mark finally got creative and called from a number I didn't recognize. Probably his assistant's phone. I was curious enough to answer. You think you're clever? His voice was volcanic, all pretense of corporate polish gone. You think this little stunt means anything? We'll bury you in legal fees. You'll be bankrupt before you ever see a dime from... Mark, I interrupted, my voice calm as still water. Have you actually read the cease and desist? Of course Then you know about the first to file principle. You know that as of 3:20 p.m. today, I have priority claim to the Pulse Sync TM trademark. You know that every document, every presentation, every line of marketing material you've created using that name is now legally questionable. Silence. I could hear him breathing, rapid and shallow. More importantly, I continued. Your investors know it too. Tell me, Mark, how did they react when they got my email? When they realized the revolutionary platform you were selling them doesn't even belong to your company? You vindictive little. Careful. Mark, defamation is so ugly. And speaking of ugly, let's discuss your options. You can rebrand everything. New name, new marketing materials, new technical documentation. Of course, the clients who signed letters of intent for Pulse Sync might be confused, or... I paused, letting him dangle. You can negotiate with me. Fair market value for the trademark rights. I'm thinking, oh, let's start at $2 million. Cash, plus royalties. $2 million? Are you insane? You're right, the platform's worth $15 million, according to your own projections. I'm being generous. But hey, that offer expires in 24 hours. After that, it goes up by $500,000 per day. The sound that came through the phone was barely human. Rage and desperation twisted into a primal snarl. You'll regret this, Emily. I'll destroy you. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. No. Mark, I said softly. I told you in that conference room, you're the one who's going to regret this. And look at that. It's been exactly 90 minutes, and you already do. I hung up on his screaming. The call I'd been waiting for came at 6:47 p.m. Ms. Carter, this is Paige Morgan. I straightened in my chair, still at the same Starbucks table that had become my war room. Paige Morgan wasn't just any investor. She was the founder of Morgan Ventures, the silent fourth player in today's meeting who hadn't been in the room but pulled the strings behind all three funds. If Apex, Pioneer, and Blue Sky were the princes of Texas venture capital, Paige Morgan was the kingmaker. Ms. Morgan, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. No. You send a cease and desist to 3 of my portfolio partners and don't expect me to call? Her voice was whiskey and smoke, carved by 40 years of boardroom battles. I've been watching the footage from the conference room. Yes, we record those pitches. Quite a performance from Mr. Holland. My pulse quickened. And what did you think of it? I think he's an idiot who just shot himself in both feet with a gold-plated gun. But you already knew that. What I'm more interested in is what you know about running a company. I'm sorry? Don't play coy, Emily. It doesn't suit someone who just executed a 20-minute hostile takeover of a $15 million idea. I've pulled your file. 15 years in tech. Consistent track record, and smart enough to document everything. The question is, are you smart enough to know when you're out of your depth? I set down my coffee carefully. What are you proposing? I'm proposing that we stop dancing and cut to the chase. Vanguard Horizon is dead in the water. Without Pulse Sync, they're just another medical tech company with mediocre middleware and a CEO who publicly demonstrated he can't be trusted. My partners are already drafting their decline letters. That must be disappointing for them. And for you. Paige laughed, rich and genuine. Disappointing? Emily, this is the most entertainment I've had in years. Do you know how boring most pitches are? Watching Mark Holland realize he'd fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line was worth the price of admission alone. Yo, I'm glad I could provide some amusement. Oh, you've provided much more than that. You've provided an opportunity. See, I still believe in Pulse Sync. The technology is sound, the market is desperate for it, and those letters of intent are real. The only thing that's changed is who owns it. My hand tightened on the phone. Go on. I want to fund Pulse Sync, not Vanguard Horizon, your company. I'll put together a syndicate with my partners, contingent on you maintaining control of the IP and bringing on a seasoned CEO to handle operations while you focus on product development. We'll start with $8 million Series A, with provisions for an additional $15 million Series B within 18 months based on milestones. The Starbucks around me blurred. This was it. The moment where I could either grasp victory or watch it slip away. I appreciate the offer, but I need to be clear about something. I'm not looking to be pushed aside again. Any deal needs to include significant equity stake and a board seat for me. 40% founders' equity, accelerated vesting, and yes, a board seat. Plus, you choose the CEO from a list of candidates we mutually approve. You'll have veto power over any IP decisions. And Mark Holland is radioactive. No professional investor in Texas will touch him after today. I've already made some calls. By morning, the whole Austin-Dallas corridor will know he's the CEO who fired his product visionary without securing the IP rights. He'll be lucky to get a job running a lemonade stand. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the day finally settling on my shoulders. I need to see terms in writing. My lawyers are drafting a term sheet as we speak. You'll have it by 9 p.m. Emily, can I give you some advice? Please. Don't take his calls anymore. Don't negotiate with Vanguard. Don't give them any opportunity to muddy the waters. You won. Now act like it. And if they sue, let them. I have 12 law firms on retainer who would love nothing more than to defend the brilliant developer who outsmarted a corporate bully. It's a PR dream. David versus Goliath. Except David has a trademark registration and documented proof of ownership. After we hung up, I sat in the fading Texas twilight, watching the last rays of sun paint the Vanguard horizon building gold. Somewhere up there, Mark was probably in crisis mode, frantically calling lawyers, board members, anyone who might save him. But it was too late. The clock had already struck 3:20. The next 3 days blurred into a symphony of legal documents and strategic moves. By Tuesday morning, the tech world was buzzing. TechCrunch had picked up the story. Vanguard Horizon in crisis as fired executive claims ownership of core product. The article was delicious in its brutality, featuring quotes from anonymous sources close to the matter who painted Mark as an incompetent leader who'd catastrophically mismanaged his company's most valuable asset. I knew exactly who those sources were. Paige Morgan didn't just invest money, she invested in narratives. And she was writing mine with surgical precision. Wednesday brought the inevitable, a lawsuit from Vanguard Horizon claiming I'd stolen proprietary information. Their legal filing was desperate, sloppy, full of accusations but light on facts. Rebecca dismantled it in a 3-page response that essentially amounted to, prove it. They couldn't, of course. Every piece of evidence supported my timeline, my ownership, my creation. But Thursday was when Mark truly imploded. I was in Rebecca's Austin office, reviewing incorporation documents for Pulse Sync Technologies, Inc., when her assistant knocked. "There's a Mark Holland here. He says it's urgent." Rebecca and I exchanged glances. "Send him in," she said, then whispered to me, "Record everything." I activated my phone's voice recorder just as Mark burst through the door. Gone was the polished executive in the Tom Ford suit. This Mark had hollow eyes, stubble, and a wrinkled shirt that had seen better days. "Emily, please. We need to talk. Alone. Anything you need to say can be said in front of my attorney." He collapsed into a chair like a marionette with cut strings. "The board fired me this morning, effective immediately. They're claiming gross negligence in IP management." "I'm sorry to hear that," I lied smoothly. "No, you're not. But that's not why I'm here." He leaned forward, desperation radiating from every pore. "Vanguard is finished. The investors pulled out. 3 major clients canceled their letters of intent when they heard about the trademark dispute. The board is considering bankruptcy. Again, I'm not sure why you're telling me this." "Yeah, because I need you to save it." The words tumbled out in a rush. "Come back. We'll make you CEO. Full control. Just license Pulse Sync back to the company. Let us use the name, the engineers, the sales team. They don't deserve to lose their jobs because of my stupidity." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered the smirk on his face as he announced my termination to those investors. Mark, do you remember what you told me 6 months ago when I first presented Pulse Sync to you? His face went blank. You said, Emily, in business, there are wolves and sheep. The wolves take what they want. The sheep get slaughtered. Then you laughed and asked which one I thought I was. Recognition dawned in his eyes. I told you I was neither. I was a hunter, patient, precise, waiting for the perfect shot. I stood, smoothing my dress. This is me taking it. The company will fold. 60 people will lose their jobs. No, they won't. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Pulse Sync Technologies has already extended employment offers to the entire engineering and sales teams. Better salaries, better benefits, actual equity. We'll be operational by Monday. He stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. How? When did you? Tuesday. While you were busy filing lawsuits, I was building a company, a real one, with real leadership and real values. This is theft. You're stealing my employees, Rebecca interjected smoothly. Your former employees, Mr. Holland. And it's not theft when they choose to leave a sinking ship for a thriving company. It's called the free market. Mark's hands shook as he pushed the folder back. What do you want? Money? Revenge? You've got both. What more could you possibly want? I thought about it for a moment, then smiled. Nothing. Absolutely nothing from you. That's the beautiful thing about winning completely. You don't need anything from the person you defeated. He stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. This isn't over. I'll find a way to... To what? Sue me with what money? Compete with what company? Rebuild with what reputation? I shook my head. Mark, it's been over since 3:20 p.m. on Monday. You just didn't know it yet. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Rebecca and I sat in silence for a moment. He's right about one thing, she said finally. Vanguard Horizon is dead. By next week, it'll be a cautionary tale told in business schools. Good, I said, meaning it. Let every CEO in America learn what happens when you betray the person who built your future. 2 weeks later, I stood in the lobby of our new office building, ironically, just 3 blocks from Vanguard Horizon's soon-to-be vacated headquarters. The Pulse Sync Technologies logo gleamed on the wall, chrome letters catching the morning light. My trademark, my company, my future. Ms. Carter? The receptionist, Julia, poached from Vanguard's front desk, smiled warmly. The team is assembled in conference room A. They're ready when you are. I checked my watch. 8:55 a.m. In 5 minutes, I'd be leading my first all-hands meeting as founder and chief product officer of a company backed by $8 million in Series A funding. 43 of Vanguard's best employees had followed me here. The others had scattered to the wind when the bankruptcy filing became official last Friday. The conference room hummed with energy. Developers, salespeople, project managers, faces I'd worked alongside for years, now looking at me with something I'd never seen before. Genuine respect, not the corporate variety that comes with a title, but the kind earned in battle. Good morning, everyone, I began, and the room quieted. 2 weeks ago, I was fired in front of 3 major investors. It was meant to be my professional execution. Instead, it became my liberation. Nods around the room. Many of them had experienced their own moments of betrayal at Vanguard. Today, we're not just building a company. We're building it right. Your ideas matter here. Your contributions will be recognized. Your equity will be real. And when we succeed, not if, when, it'll be because we did it together. Applause erupted, genuine and sustained. Through the glass walls, I caught sight of someone in the lobby. Mark Holland, looking like a ghost of his former self, standing at reception. Julia was shaking her head, gesturing to our security guard. Our eyes met across the space. For a moment, time stopped. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I smiled, not cruelly, not triumphantly, just a simple acknowledgement of what we both knew, that in trying to destroy me, he'd created something far more powerful than either of us had imagined. He turned and left. I never saw him again. Now, I continued, turning back to my team. Let's talk about our first milestone. We have 3 hospital systems ready to pilot Pulse Sync next month. Marketing has rebranded all materials with our trademark. Legal has cleared all IP concerns. We are, officially, ready to launch. More applause. Someone, I think it was Tom from engineering, shouted, "To Emily, the woman who trademarked revenge." Laughter filled the room, and I let it wash over me. But as I looked at the eager faces around me, I realized something profound. This wasn't about revenge anymore. That had been the catalyst, not the destination. No, I said when the room quieted. To all of us. To second chances. To building something that matters. Later that afternoon, I stood in my new corner office. Yes, I'd given myself the corner. I'd earned it. Holding the framed trademark certificate Rebecca had sent over. The official seal of the United States Patent and Trademark Office gleamed gold in the afternoon sun. Owner, Emily Carter. Filed January 15, 2025, 3:20 p.m. Those 20 minutes had changed everything. The humiliation, the betrayal, the public execution, all of it had led to this moment. Mark had been right about one thing. In business, there were wolves and sheep. He just never realized that sometimes the sheep have fangs. My phone buzzed. A text from Paige Morgan. Saw the news about Vanguard's bankruptcy. Dinner tonight to discuss Series B. My treat. I typed back. Absolutely. But I'm buying. After all, I can afford it now. As the sun set over Dallas, painting the sky in shades of victory, I allowed myself one last thought about that conference room, that moment of betrayal. Mark had fired me at 3 p.m., thinking he'd won everything. By 3:20, I'd taken it all back. They fired me at 3 p.m. By 3:20, I'd fired back permanently. Thank you so much for listening to this story of corporate revenge and sweet vindication. I'm curious. Where are you listening to this story right now? Are you on your commute, at the gym, or perhaps plotting your own corporate comeback? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if Emily's 20-minute triumph resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel for more stories of underdogs who refuse to stay down. Share your thoughts. Have you ever turned a professional betrayal into your biggest victory? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below.